And immediately I hear this sound that says stroke alert, ER. So they begin rushing me back and they're asking me questions and poking and prodding. And I'm trying to figure out who had the stroke.
So imagine here you are just thinking it's vertigo, and you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Stroke.
Stroke.
Now, at this time, could you, when you're in the hospital, could you see, had your vision come back?
No, I still couldn't see. What's interesting though, I heard everything. I heard the clocks on the wall ticking. It's interesting. I couldn't see, but my hearing was heightened, and
Mm.
all the other senses, they were heightened. I was very aware of everything going on, even though I couldn't see.
Mm. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Come on in the room. Welcome back to the Retire and Thrive show. I'm Chauntelle, and today we have a special guest, someone who is near and dear to my heart. I want to introduce to you Nicole Brazile, who many of us lovingly call Nikki.
Hi.
Me and Nikki met years ago as flight attendants, and we formed an unbreakable sister bond. And even though there are miles between us and we've retired, still kept in close contact. And today she's here to share her incredible story of resilience. And let me tell you something, when you hear what Nikki has had to go through and what she is still going through, you are going to be so inspired. Nikki was forced into retirement due to a sudden medical disability. And I know that she's not the only one who has experienced this. And when I was talking to her, I said, Nikki, you have to come on and share your story, because there are others who are on the backside, on the dark side of that journey, which you had to come through and are still coming through. Her journey hasn't been easy, but through it all, she's shown immense strength and courage. So today, she's going to walk us through the trials she faced and how she found her way in this new chapter of life. But before we jump in, you know what I'm getting ready to do. Don't y'all forget to subscribe to the Retire and Thrive show. What y'all waiting on? Just smash the subscribe button now. And if you haven't already, you can also find us on Facebook under the same name, Retire and Thrive, where we build community, share resources, and support one another on this retirement journey. All right, so enough of all that info stuff. You know what to do. Get this message out, share it with others that you know who have been forced to retire or just suddenly retired because of a medical situation, or it may not even be a medical situation. It may be something else that you have been forced to retire. But enough about me, enough about all that. Get your coffee, get your drink, whatever it is, your wine, whatever it is you're going to do. Sit back, get your crackers, grapes, whatever you want to do. And I want you to really listen to what Nikki has to say, because I know she's going to inspire a lot of you. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Nikki and let her introduce herself. And after that, she's going to walk you through a little bit of her story. And she's going to tell you how long she had been a flight attendant, and then move into the summer of 2020 when everything was shut down and everything changed for all of us. All right, Nikki, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Nicole Brazile. I reside in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I started out as a flight attendant back in 1994 with my first airline was American Trans Air, based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And I did some time with ATA. We're on vacation, for those of you who remember that airline when it was around. And then I jumped ship and I went to American Airlines, and I was a flight attendant there from 97 up until the 9/11 incident. After 9/11, I took a little break and then decided to go with Continental Airlines in 2006. I was a Cal gal until Cal merged with United Airlines, and I was a flight attendant with United Airlines until I was forced out of the industry due to my sudden an unforeseen illness. And that was actually July of this year, 2024, is when I had to hang up my wings. I'm 50 years old, and so I've been out for 3 years now,
Mhm.
and it has taken quite some time to get acclimated and to try and navigate these waters because I retired. This was not my plan. It's not how I envisioned leaving my profession. So it took a whole lot of prayer and a whole lot of humbling
Yeah.
to realize that it was not my will, and maybe that God was directed and ordering my steps because I just knew that it was going to be something different. I knew
Right.
that uh this wasn't it. But God has a sense of humor. And he has a sense of humor. It's like, I gotcha.
So I
and
want to
so
go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and so here I am, navigating, figuring it all out. I haven't quite gotten it all figured out, but I'm okay. I'm
Mhm.
alive. And for every morning I wake up, that's the first thing that motivates me.
Yeah.
I'm alive. So many of our coworkers, our associates, our friends, people that we know or know of, get illnesses
Yeah.
and they don't make it out. I
That's true.
was one of the ones who did.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful to be alive and to be able to share my testimony and hopefully inspire someone else,
Yeah.
and let them know that this is not the end, but yet the beginning of a new chapter. It's all in how you look at it. And I had to learn that. I'm speaking from experience. I had to learn that. I was looking at it all wrong.
Yeah. So, Nikki, before we even tell them how you even got here, go back to the summer of 2020. The pandemic has hit. We're all at home, grounded, wings been clipped. We're all at home. Don't know if we didn't know what was happening because the world had just shut down.
Yes.
And at that time, you were back at home, but you were enjoying that because being a flight attendant, we're out on the road, we're constantly away from family. And so being back home, getting acclimated to being in the house with your children or with your child, around your family, you're out moving and shaking. I believe you were helping somebody with their business, and that's what caused you to be out and moving around, although you were wearing your mask. I don't know if it was an N95, but you were wearing mask at the time. But then what happened?
Actually, I was wearing my mask and I ran a pretty tight ship. I had a bubble here. But just so happened I had a family member come home from college and decided to go to a party. And I was not aware of that. And the family member came back in. And lo and behold, they were positive for COVID. They didn't find out until they went back to college. And at the time, the schools were testing all the students that were returning back, and she tested positive for COVID. So then she made the phone call back and saying, everybody that I was in contact with, I'm letting you know that I just tested positive and to go and get tested. So I went and got tested, and um, I was negative.
Mm.
I was negative. Then
But did you
later
have any
on,
symptoms at the time? So
nope,
even though, okay, so you had no symptoms.
no.
Okay,
No
because you were
symptoms at all,
negative.
no symptoms at all. Um, Shortly after that is when I became a little scratchy throat, very, very mild cold, slight flu-like symptoms, nothing
Mhm.
significant. I'm what you call asymptomatic. So I
Okay.
didn't really show a lot of the signs and symptoms that a lot of the COVID people experience. So I went again and I was tested. This time I tested positive. So I quarantined, did the 14-day quarantine and everything, and just kind of rode it out at home. And after the 14 days, I went back and tested and I was negative again. And that was December of that year. Was that 2020? December of 2020. So fast forward to February 2021, um, I woke up to the room spinning.
Mm.
By this time, while I was out, I left out a part. I actually went and got my license as a realtor. So I was working as a realtor and just breaking into the business and learning as much as I could. And I also ran a trucking business. I own three 18-wheelers, and I was, doing all of the hands-on with that. So my plate was full. Had a lot going on. And while doing that, I woke up to the room spinning. I went to bed late that night, woke up room spinning and very nauseous, vomiting. And I came back and I remember sitting on the bed and uh, I was just dizzy
Mhm.
and I couldn't figure it out. And then after the dizziness, I lost my vision. My vision, it just went black. My room went black. And then I began to panic. And a friend that was here at the time happened to be working in my dining room and he came running in. He goes, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I can't see. I can't see." And so long story short, he called my mom. My mom sent my sister over because I refused. I thought it was a case of vertigo. Okay,
Mm.
that's what I thought. I thought it was vertigo. And I was like, "Just let me lay here. I'll be fine." He didn't feel right with it. So they got my sister to come over and she convinced me to go to the emergency room. I get to the emergency room and my sister is explaining to the triage nurse what's going on. And immediately I hear this sound that says stroke alert, ER. So they begin rushing me back and they're asking me questions and poking and prodding. And I'm trying to figure out who had the stroke.
So imagine here you are just thinking it's vertigo, and you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Stroke.
Stroke, stroke.
Now, at this time, could you, when you're in the hospital, could you see, had your vision come back?
No, I still couldn't see. What's interesting though, I heard everything. I heard the clocks on the wall ticking. It's interesting. I couldn't see, but my hearing was heightened, and
Mm,
all the other senses they were heightened. I was very aware of everything going on, even though I couldn't see.
mm,
Um, and I remember them asking me questions and I'm trying to answer. They were trying to figure out if I was a candidate for the medication that they give to stroke victims to reverse some of the signs and symptoms on the onset. It's only a 10-minute window from when you have a
mhm.
stroke. There's a 10-minute window. But long story short, when they swabbed me there, I was back positive again for COVID. So back then, we were told once you got it, you had it, that was it. Well, now here I am with a second positive test for COVID. I
Mm.
tested before, and then I went back and tested and negative, and now I'm back in the hospital. I went to the hospital, tested again, and now I'm back positive. So I'm like, I'm telling the lady, no, 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 I'm negative. I have proof. And they were like, "Ma'am, you positive." So here I am with a second positive diagnosis, and they stick me in the COVID unit and begin working on me for the stroke.
Now, at this time, you still were not understanding that you had had a stroke. When did you find out that not only did you have one stroke, but you had two?
Well, that's interesting because initially my family was told they were speaking to my sister because they felt that I would not understand. I was a little confused and a little disoriented, but I still had the ability to speak and move around and walk and all of those things. I was fine. So they told my sister it was a very small stroke
Mm,
and it was an ischemic stroke. It was small, no big deal. So I only stayed in the hospital for 4 days and they released me to go home. By day 2 or 3 of being home, my sister and my mom came over and they actually were my live-in caretakers.
mhm,
And they noticed that my speech began to slur again. And they said that I was walking like a crab sideways. I
mm,
couldn't walk in a straight line. And my mobility was greatly diminishing. And so my mom wasn't very pleased with the treatment I received at the first hospital. So she decided, we're not taking you back there. We're going to take you, pause. I went for a follow-up visit from that hospital visit to the neurologist. And I
mhm,
kept telling him I'm having these excruciating headaches. I mean, I was in tears. These headaches were so bad.
mhm,
And he said it was a Friday. I'll never forget it because he goes, "Okay, I'll give you a prescription for some medication for that."
mhm,
He never called it in. He never called it in. And when my sister called repeatedly to try and get somebody to call it in, they pretty much said, she has to go to the ER. The doctor doesn't accept calls on the weekend, which is
Mm,
what upset my mother. And she was like, we're not going back to that hospital for that same doctor to care for you. So the headaches were severe. I'm in tears. And so my mother decided to take me over to Cleveland Clinic in Weston, who took very good care of my brother when he had his medical episode.
mhm.
And there is where they told me I had uh, a stroke. So they got my history and they said, okay, stroke, and they did their scan and all that stuff. So then I was presenting different symptoms than originally I presented. And so the neurologist was like, I got to find out what those other tests from your first hospital visit revealed. So long story short, we ended up getting the records and giving it to him. It took a while because I was still very ill and couldn't speak at that point, couldn't walk, had a lot of issues, could not see still.
Mm.
And so
So let me ask you a question, Nikki. So from the time that you had lost your vision to now you're at Cleveland Clinic, how many days span was that with that you were visually blind?
six,
Wow.
6 days, I couldn't see my hand before my face.
Okay.
6 days. So eventually I had colors of I had blotches of color that would appear, but nothing, it was not a complete image. If we
Mhm.
were driving, I knew it was a white block in front of me, which the car or a truck, I couldn't tell if it was a car or a truck. It just whatever's in front of us was white. I could see blotches of color, but it wasn't anything in great detail.
Mhm.
Faces that went for everything. So I was completely dependent upon my hearing,
Mhm.
identifying people that I know and unknown people.
Mhm.
I was listening. Okay, that's such and such. That's nurse here. It was all by me listening. I couldn't hear. So, long story short, from Cleveland Clinic, after they cared for me there, they released me to a rehab facility because I had to learn how to walk and speak and get therapy for my vision.
Now
Um,
let me ask you something. At this point, here you are a woman who was very vibrant, and now you're having to go through therapy to learn how to walk and
mm,
speak. What was going on in you and your mind at that time?
I was in denial. So much so when I got there, they put an alarm on my bed, on my person, on my wheelchair. I was a fall precaution. I did not want to believe them. And I would make many attempts to try and do what I could not do. And so they had to restrain me because I was in denial. I didn't want to believe what the doctors were saying was wrong with me, was wrong with me.
And so in your mind, your legs could move, but when
Yeah,
you got up to move, it said not today.
not today, not today, and not today. So it was a battle between me
Yeah.
and the nursing staff because, they have orders on what I'm supposed to do and not supposed to do, and I kept saying I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. I for a very long time, up until April of this year,
Of 2024.
yes, denial, which is what forced me into my retirement because I refused to believe that I could not return back to work. I refused to believe that this was my fate. I just knew I was going to get better. I knew that I could make the doctors all wrong. And I had a team of doctors. It was not just one. This was a collective decision among the neurologist, my primary doctor, my cardiologist, my endocrinologist. I had a hematologist that was
Mm.
studying my blood because I just had a bunch of wacky stuff going on with me. And so these doctors were collectively working together and they came up with the decision that no, it's not going to be in your best interest to return back to your profession.
Now,
So,
before we dig deeper into that, because I want people to understand there's somebody out there who may be listening and you're going through this right now. Your doctors have said you're not going to be able to return to work. You may be just like Nikki, who is a believer and her faith is in God. And she believed within her own self by faith that she was going to return to work.
mhm.
What happens when what you believe doesn't line up with what God wants to do with your life? What were you experiencing at this time, the struggle between, God, why are you doing this? And I know your word says I can get up and walk, and you've got people praying, but we're not seeing a difference. What does that do to you? And I remember, I don't want to spill too much, but I know that there were bouts of depression,
Oh, yeah.
darkness. So let's talk about that, because there's somebody that's going through that right now.
I spent a lot of days crying and praying and asking God, why me? It was a lot of why me, why me, why me, why me. And then I began to think about, I think the turning point for me was a pivotal moment when I received a phone call from one of our other colleagues, a flight attendant, who told me about a colleague that commuted to Fort Lauderdale just as I was. I was a commuter out of Newark. And this person got in his car from at the airport, was driving home on 595, the expressway, pulled over, had a stroke, and he died. It was a
And
hemorrhagic stroke,
mm,
and he died. And, there were other colleagues that died from strokes that we heard about, and then people that I knew were dying from COVID and from stroke. I forgot to mention, I learned in this process that stroke is a very common side effect of COVID,
mm,
especially for African American and minorities. There's something in our blood that it's a very common side effect, is what was told to me. So a lot of the medical staff that was caring for these people in the COVID unit were seeing these people boomeranging back with stroke.
mm,
They were boomer and young people, 20s, 30s, 40s with stroke. And in my situation, it ended up being two strokes.
mhm. Now,
So it
Nikki,
was,
we need to dig into that, because a lot of people don't understand. Okay, so she had two strokes. But what they don't understand is that you had two strokes that affected both sides of your brain.
yes. So the initial stroke I had, it affected my right side. And then when I went back, uh, it made my neurologist, I had a new neurologist at this point, left the old one, went to the new one at Cleveland Clinic, and he kept questioning, I don't understand. You have mobility issues, you have speech issues, you have vision. These are all things that are controlled by different sides of the brain. Our report says you had a stroke here, but what you're exhibiting are things that happen when you have a stroke on the other side of your brain.
Mm,
So that's when he was demanding, I need to see those other tests. I
mhm.
have to see, and I need the disc. So we eventually were able to get him from the other hospital and get it to him, and he looked at everything, and he called me back that evening, and he says, I know what's wrong with you. You didn't have one stroke, you had two. You did have a small stroke, but you had a very large one as well. They both are ischemic, but that explains the vision loss, the loss in mobility, your speech issues. That's when I learned I had two strokes. It was from him.
And so when you have a stroke on the right side, it affects what?
Um, I get them confused, and
But
I can't remember which side control. Believe it or not, I went and I studied nursing, and I should know this, but that's one of the side effects of stroke too, is my memory. I
yeah,
do
your
have
memory.
memory loss and things I can't recall, and I can't. Some people I don't even remember.
So it's
Um,
affected your short and long-term memory.
yes,
Now, let's we're going to piggyback, we're going to put a pin right there, because this is very serious for people to understand about the memory. There were times when Nikki was out driving and she couldn't remember how to get back home.
I still have that issue today. That is still a very real um, fear, and it is an issue I live with every day. And every time I go to my neurologist and I tell him about it, and I'm so upset, and he says, that's something I can't fix. That's the damage in your brain caused by one of those strokes. I can't fix that. So, to help me with that, I upgraded my car to a car with all of the bells and whistles and technology. And literally every time I drive my car, if I'm alone, I put in my GPS where I'm going. And the car that I have now, I actually can speak and say what it is, and my car will respond. And it's electric vehicle, so it does a lot of stuff driving for me as long as I keep my hands on the wheel. And it helps me a lot to maintain my independence. Without it, it would be a struggle because I do still have vision issues.
Mhm.
Um, and the memory. There are times I'm driving and I don't know where I am.
Mm.
And I'm born and raised here. I know the city back and forward like the back of my hand, but I'll be driving along and it's like a click. I can hear it in my head. It's a click sound, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm in the woods or something. I can't identify where I am or remember where I'm going.
So for that person who is out there who you are experiencing this, you are not crazy.
Mm-mm.
Your family may be thinking you're crazy. Inside of yourself, you may be thinking you're crazy. You are not crazy. This is an actual event that the brain is trying
Yeah.
to remember. And did you hear what she said? It's like a click. Yours may be something different,
Hmm.
but it's letting you know something is off kilter and I can't remember. So the key thing that you might want to do, if you don't have a vehicle that has all the bells and whistles, make sure on your phones you
Yes.
have your address, your home address in your phone so that you can get back to your home. You're going to have to begin to put in safeguards that are going to help you navigate so that even though you may have been forced to retire, it doesn't mean that you're relegated to being inside of your home. Nikki still has a very vibrant life. Now, I know that there were a couple of other things that had to change in her life. She had even gotten to the point to where she was out walking, but she had to stop walking. She had a tricycle, a human adult tricycle, which was the bomb looking, created for her. But because of the memory, and if I'm not mistaken, your mobility, it still impaired you to be able to do the
To
things that
do.
you wanted to do to keep up your
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, I'd begin to fall at that point. I was falling and I couldn't figure that out, what was happening. Um, this is all after I was released from rehab and I was getting in-home care and nurses coming in and out and making sure my medications were okay. And I began to fall and trip over myself, and I was just having a hard time moving around.
Mhm.
Um, Fast forward, I had several episodes where I went to stores and things, and I was lost. I couldn't figure out how to cross the street. I was just having a really hard time. Where it ended up being going back to Cleveland Clinic for another hospitalization to learn that another issue had come about, and I was actually having seizures. So I developed epilepsy as yet another side effect of COVID and these strokes.
Now, this is a woman who was, for all
Healthy.
practical purposes, healthy. And
Hmm.
now, because of COVID, she's experienced strokes, blindness, and now seizures. And here's something else that when we were talking about this episode of what was going on, and when I asked her to come on, she told me that the medication that was given to her and to others, not just to her, when they came in, what it begins with an R. I can't remember the name of it.
Remdesivir. That's the
That
COVID medication they give you to treat when you're in the COVID unit. Yes.
Now talk about that, because I found that that was very interesting and how it has affected even your process now, because somebody else doesn't understand why they are experiencing the side effects that they're experiencing.
What happened with that was when I was in rehab, the nurses were coming in and they were pricking my finger, checking my finger several times a day. And I didn't understand that because I was healthy. When I was a flight attendant, I worked out in the gym. I was healthy. I had no issues. Um, and I later found out that they were saying I had elevated A1C. My blood sugars were normal, but when they did blood draws, they were coming back elevated. And so they were trying to give me metformin. They were giving me metformin saying that I was diabetic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. So much so, I get into a fight with the nurse. We come in and we're verbal, and I'm like, I'm not diabetic. So I'm crying on the phone from rehab, and I call my primary doctor because I just had a workup before I got all of this illness. And he pulled my chart and he says, well, I don't see that in my blood work
Mhm.
that you did. And he told me the day. He goes, so I can't speak for what they see. Something clearly has happened if they're giving you this. So do whatever you feel is necessary. And when you get released, you come back and see me and we'll talk about it. So when I went back to him and he explained to me that is a side effect of that remdesivir, that it can elevate the A1C. And I thought to myself, how many people were healthy before this and now they're diabetic? To this day, I still am diabetic. They still have not been able to control my A1C without medication. And I didn't have it before,
All because of the COVID.
all because of COVID. Yes.
So now we are fast forwarding. You've had seizures and you still have seizures, correct?
Yes, I take Keppra, which is an epileptic medication for those who suffer from epilepsy. I was up to 3,000 milligrams a day. And for people who take Keppra, they will tell you that is an awful lot. That's a huge amount. But that's how uncontrollable my seizures were, that my dosage was up to 3,000 milligrams, 1,500 in the morning, 1,500 in the evening, to control my seizures. So I had that. And also I want to touch on my blindness. So I had to go to a neuro-ophthalmologist, and I sought out one of the top neuro-ophthalmologists here in my area. He's world renowned. And I went to him and I had all these tests done, and he has all of the state-of-the-art equipment in his office. And I said, I need you to help me see. I can't see.
Mm.
And so he did all these tests and he did everything. And I kept going back to him, and he was running all these tests and putting all these computers on my eyes and stuff. And so the final meeting, he went in, he says, listen, he says, there's nothing wrong with your eyes.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, you can do LASIK. I said, but I can't see. He says, I understand that. Your eyes are healthy, and do not allow anybody to tell you that they are not. What you are experiencing is a side effect of the brain damage in the visual cortex of your brain. It's nothing I can do or anyone can do to fix that. And he says, I think it would be pretty safe to say that you have about a 6 to 8 week window from the onset of the stroke for things to correct itself. Once you get past that 6 to 8 weeks, pretty much what you have is what you're kind of stuck with. You may have
Wow.
minor things that improve, but you're pretty much stuck with that. He says, so I hate to tell you this and be the bearer of bad news, but your vision will probably never return to the way that it was. What you have now, it's going to be the way it is from here on out. You may have very small improvements, but I wouldn't bank on it being anything significant.
So did it improve more
No,
since then?
no. I actually went to a special doctor who I had to have 5 different prescriptions put into my lens, because when I would walk, which is another reason why I stopped walking, the world would constantly move.
Mm.
Constantly. The sidewalk was shifting. And I would ride in a car. At this point, I couldn't drive because everything constantly moved. And I
Mm.
would carry around air sick bags, plastic bags, because anything would make me, get sick on the stomach just from constant movement.
Mhm.
So this very talented ophthalmologist I went to, he was able to do a concoction and create special lenses that help stop the world from moving as much. And my primary doctor prescribed a medication called meclizine, which is used for motion sickness. So
Mhm.
between the meclizine and the special lenses that I have, that has eased the motion, but I do still suffer it from this day to this day.
Wow. It's
I
just
still have the
eased
vision
it.
issues.
It hasn't taken it away, it's just eased it.
It eases it.
So you're having to learn how to deal with all of these complications that
Mm,
were so far unforeseen, and you're having to deal with it daily. Each day
absolutely.
is a new day.
Oh yeah.
Literally,
And a
literally.
new adventure, because my mother moved in with me, and she, of course, what do mothers do? They want to make things easier for you. Well, she doesn't realize that I'm navigating my house through memory because my vision is very blurred. And so
Mm.
she wants to organize things. And I'm trying to be independent. She's moved everything in my house. Oh my goodness. And I am literally having meltdowns like a 2-year-old because I can't find anything.
Oh my goodness.
The pantry, everything was moved. The dishes. Everything was a scavenger hunt. So
Oh
on
my
top of all of
goodness.
these other things now, I can't find anything in my house. Nothing. Because my mother she moved the furniture. I was just like, are you kidding
So
me? I
here you
can't
are going
see.
through your whole house, bumping into your own.
I'm bumping into everything. It
So
was bad.
I did not realize that you still were not able to. So is it that what you're seeing is it still blurry?
Yes, to this day. To this day, which is why my car is so important with the bells and the whistles, because my car has all these sensors around and it will stop on a dime for me
Mhm,
in case a child darts out or a ball darts out and I don't
mhm.
see it. I do have left peripheral blindness. So
Mm,
on my left side, um, I'm blind until whatever the object is, it has to get like midway here for me to see it.
mm,
So anything from here on this side, I cannot see.
my goodness.
Yeah. So,
So so the doctors had told you there's no way that you can return to work. And what people don't realize is as flight attendants, although you see flight attendants, you're like, oh, all they do is serve a drink and do this, that, and the other. You have no clue of the things that we have to be able to see, notice, lift. It she could not fathom not being able to go to work. She went to every last one of her doctors
everyone
individually and asked them to sign off so
signed the
that she could go
papers.
back to work. But they knew that the job was extremely physical because if there's an emergency, you have to be able to jump into action and get people off that plane in less than 90 seconds.
Right. Well, the doctors didn't even put it to me that way. They said to me, "You're a walking miracle. You didn't have one, you had two strokes. You want us to put you back in a metal tube that we all know contributes to blood clots and strokes." That's why when you sit in those airplanes in their books and they tell you about different exercises you should do on long haul flights to help prevent blood clots, you want me to sign a piece of paper saying that you should go back there when you've already had two episodes of blood clotting. They still are trying to figure out because I developed a disorder called hypo uh, coagulation,
Mhm,
where I was getting clotting more than usual. And so they were trying to figure out if that was genetic or if that too was a side effect of COVID, or if that was something from the cocktail of medications they were giving me after the stroke.
mhm.
Still haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. So
Because
they,
COVID is just something that the doctors had, although we all know that COVID has been around for years, COVID mutates and becomes different strains. And this particular strain that we all experienced in 2020 was just a whole new
yeah.
can of worms. So the doctors really still don't know, and for lack of a better word, a lot of people are being used as guinea pigs because they just don't know.
Yeah, and my doctor said that. My doctor actually teaches at Nova Southeastern University. He is a doctor that teaches other doctors. And he said, I wish I had answers for you more so than what I have, but it's just so new.
Yeah.
And we are learning every other day. There's a new memo out about differences and things, and it's hard to keep up. We just don't know. And that's pretty much what I was left with. We just gonna have to ride this thing out and see.
So, Nikki, you finally get to the place where now it's 3 years in. And I remember we were having the discussion, and I was like, well, girl, go ahead and retire because the company was offering a retirement package. And I did not want her to lose out on anything. I didn't want her to lose out on her pension. I didn't want her to lose out on anything because we didn't know what was going to happen. And at this
Right.
point, it was still very early because the airlines didn't even know if they were going to make it. And a lot of us retired because we didn't want our pensions to be sucked up and disappear. So it's 3 years later, and you're just coming to the agreement. I don't even know if it's, I shouldn't
It
say
wasn't an
really.
agreement, and I have to admit I didn't listen to you because I was so hell bent on no, no, no. I can go back. I felt like I had something to prove to myself. I'm not as sick as my doctors say I am. I despised my walker. I despised my potty that I had here at the house. I despised my shower chair and all of the medical devices and things that they sent. I despised everything that they had given me to make my life somewhat easier, because I just knew that this couldn't be my new normal. I knew I was going to return back. So when the company actually sent me the letter saying I have to return by April 1st or be terminated, I knew I could, you know, talk to my doctors and talk them into signing the paperwork.
Because you were able to talk your way through anything.
Oh, baby, I was a queen of talking my way in and out of stuff. Yes. And I just knew. And my doctor is my family's doctor. He took care of my father up until he died. He takes care of my mother, my sister, my brother. We all go to him, and he's such a good doctor. He's helped me, and he's always filled out my paperwork and whatever I needed for work. And he looked me in my face and he said, Nikki, if I felt it was a good idea, I would sign it in a heartbeat. But I'm telling you, I can't. I cannot. You have to find something else to do. I can't.
And here's the other part. With everything that you're going through, I don't know if you all remember that she said she used to have a trucking company and then she had gone to get her real estate license. With everything that she's going through, working a conventional job is out of the question.
It just
So
wasn't.
now here you are, a woman who's been used to making over six figures,
Hmm.
and now you are reduced to your disability check.
That's it. Disability.
What is going through your mind as you're trying to grapple with what's happening with your life? So some of you all, you've been going through this more than 3 years.
Yeah.
She was able to get a hold of herself and say, okay, this is the plate that I have to eat from right now. I can't change the plate. I can't even change the color of the plate.
Oh.
What's the mindset? How did you get yourself out of that darkness and not stay in depression and the woe is me's?
Um, it I stayed there for a while. I'm gonna be very transparent. I was there for a while and trying to figure out what am I gonna do. My Social Security disability is significant compared to what people get here in Florida, but still it was not enough compared to the lifestyle I'd created for myself and my son,
Right,
what I was accustomed to getting on a monthly basis.
right.
So I was just like, what am I going to do? And out of the blue, my niece called me, and she had a then 2-year-old who had gone to the pediatrician and who was at that time not speaking. And then the pediatrician was beginning to talk to her and the father of the child about possibly having her tested for autism.
Mm,
So she was in tears and she was upset. And she called me because my son had special learning needs, younger, and she was so upset. And she just didn't want to admit or believe that her child had special needs. And
mhm.
she was calling me to kind of vent and trying to figure out direction. So I said, I'm home during the day. I said, why don't you bring her to me and let me work with her? And she was like, is that not going to be too much? I said, no, I'll work with her. And in working with her, I quickly learned that she was extremely intelligent. And she had trained her parents to give her everything that she wanted and needed without using a single word.
Isn't that something?
Now, what was interesting about this is it helped me to get away from my problems. And it was therapy, because now this is calling on my memory. This is a
Mm,
2-year-old baby, and I'm teaching her alphabet and sounds. These are things I learned in primary school. So it's actually more therapy for me. And she helped me more than I helped her. So long story short, she began to speak, and now she is a chatty Cathy. She at 2, she's 3 now. She's reading. She adds, subtracts. We're learning multiplication at 3. So she is above average for her age group, extremely intelligent. And that's kind of how I got the ball because I would to I was taping it. One, because her mother was so concerned with her being here with me because I had issues.
Mhm.
And so what happened was to make my niece comfortable, I had my mother to come during the day. So my mother was my babysitter while I was the babysitter. And she still is. And she still is. My mother comes every day. God bless her soul, 73. But she comes and she sits with me and she's my babysitter as I take care of uh toddlers and small children and teach them.
So what started out as one has grown into how many?
Eight,
8.
eight.
And just think, now, no one ever wants to go through what you went through. But if you weren't home, your niece's daughter would have probably been labeled autistic.
Yeah.
And because people didn't take the time to work with her, she would have been kind of pushed aside
Yeah.
and wouldn't have been able to blossom the way that she has.
Yeah, she has definitely come out of her shell. Um, it's just amazing. It really is amazing. Now, I'm not going to say that because I'm not a professional, not a licensed
Right.
professional. She
Exactly.
may still have some things on the spectrum. I'm not trained
Mhm.
in that to know. But what I do know is she speaks well, and she speaks a lot.
Mhm.
She reads
She speaks a
and
lot.
she understands a lot. A lot.
And if Nikki is saying that because Nikki can talk
Oh,
too.
a lot. So, and her mother calls me now when she complains about Malaya speaking. I said, ma'am, my job here is done.
First
Want
she
her to
said
talk?
she
She's
wouldn't
talking.
speak. Then
She's talking now. Case closed. Don't call me complaining about she talks too much. That's not my department.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's not my department. So yeah, it started out like that. And I began taping her just to chart progress. That's how it started out. And I would post them on Facebook pretty much for family and friends because
Mhm.
my family is a village. And so we all look after each other. So it was during the day, one to ease the parents' concern because they knew I was sick. And so I would post these things during the day so that they can see that we are well and
Mhm.
that the baby is doing well. And two, to see uh
The
her
growth.
improvement,
Yeah.
her improvement. And it started out that way. And then people began to contact my niece and make comments. I would love for you to work with my child. And it's kind of went there. So it wasn't a thing to make money or anything. It was
Right.
it was more therapy for me, finding a creative way to work with toddlers. I have a specific group of children that I work with, toddlers. We're talking 1, 2, and 3-year-olds,
Mhm.
with getting them out of their shells and getting they're very resilient and they're sponges at that age.
Yeah.
And as long as you put it in a way where they get it, they grasp it. They
Right.
grasp. So it challenges me. I still
Mhm.
have challenges, but it challenges me to think outside of the box. And it gives me something to do. It gives me hope. Because remember, my doctor said, looking for a job. I'm like, I get lost going around the corner to the store. When these memory glitches hit, I'm gonna get fired. Even if I go out and get a job, there are some mornings I wake up and I'm busy. The
Mhm.
whole room is spinning again. I'm like, is this another stroke? I'm praying that it's not what it is, and or a
Mhm.
headache comes. So that's something I still deal with to this
Mhm.
day. Those
Mhm.
those are things, and I'm lost.
Mhm.
Being a flight attendant, I can't wake up in another city and don't know where I am and can't get to the plane on time. You'd be fired.
Right. And we already did that halftime. We're like,
Oh my
where
Lord.
am I and what day is it?
Right. Wait a minute.
And
Am
what
I Vegas?
time
Am I
is
LA? Orange County?
it?
Lincoln, Nebraska? Where am I? They had a very good mall there, by the way, because nobody shops there. So they got all the great stuff in that Macy's. But carry on.
I know people just really don't understand that world is just a beautiful
Oh,
world. You get to shop
yeah.
all over the world and just,
Stop.
oh,
Get your nails done, and now you
yep.
flying to LA because they do the best overlay there that you've ever had in your life. So he's doing the
And that's
best.
how I used to pick up my trips. I
Yeah.
would pick up, like, if I wanted to go to movies, I would always pick up that San Diego layover because I liked the mall that was close to the
Yes.
hotel. And I used to go to the movies, and that was the only place that I really wanted to go to the movies.
Yes.
Each city had its
Or the
own little
LA, the
thing.
Trader Joe's, before Trader Joe's came to our area. Like, we gotta go to Trader Joe's. We out of butter. We out of this. We out of that.
And people are just getting hit to Primark. We were like, child, we've been doing that for
Been doing
years.
Primarks back, and we were going to London, honey.
Yep, yep. And I still have clothes that I bought overseas that are in perfect condition.
Yeah.
However, the stuff that I have bought over here has torn up,
Yep.
doesn't last. And I'm like, good grief.
It's to keep you in the mall. It's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy, I tell you. But Nikki,
Conspiracy.
I mean, this has really been eye-opening because I know that there are others out there that are going to be like, I'm so glad somebody's talking about this because I'm experiencing this and now I can go ahead and believe my doctors. That
Mm.
does not mean that you don't have faith. It just means that the body is needing a repair and they're still trying to figure out how to repair it.
Mhm.
So, as someone who's
It was a separation. Mine was not a retirement. So I lost all of my benefits other than what I invested in. I forfeited everything because I absolutely refused to retire. I just felt like I was going to get better. And even when the company was sending the letters, I refused, and I kept going back to my doctor and making appointments. And I just knew one of these appointments he'd give in and he'd sign off. And he's like, I can't send you back. You're
okay,
not
Nikki, I need you to
well.
repeat that because somebody else is out there and your job is contacting you
Yeah,
and you are ignoring it. Listen to what she said.
yeah.
She refused
I
to believe
refused.
it.
I refused. I refused. And it did not hit. Let me tell you when it hit.
Mm,
April 1st of 2024, when I received a certified letter from United Airlines stating that I was no longer affiliated with the company and I had been terminated because I did not return back to work. That's when it hit me that
you didn't even have a choice. It was like, it's over with now.
they
I can't
called
even appeal it.
no, because they had sent me
No,
the letter, and I got the letter, but I put it to the side. I'll
but
deal
the
with it
union
later.
couldn't even help you now.
No,
Oh my goodness.
no, nobody could help me because of my I just refuse to believe that I am what they say I am on paper.
Mm,
Even though I was living that. And some mornings I wake up confused, disoriented. Some days I could not walk. Before they diagnosed me with epilepsy and the seizures, I didn't know what was going on. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it is. I tried doing the real estate thing and realtor, and I never forget, I went to this one woman's house and I'm talking to her about, what she wanted to get done. And I remember this lady asking me, "Are you okay?" She kept asking me if I'm okay, and I'm saying yes. I didn't know it then, but now I know it because I bumped into her at an event not too long ago, and she says, "I was so worried about you when you left." She said, "Your speech was slurred."
mm,
And I just kept telling her, "I have a headache. I have a headache. I have a headache." And she said, "I was so concerned about you. And you said that, you were going to go to your mom's house who didn't live far away." I couldn't even make it home.
mm.
I managed to somehow drive to my mom's house that was not that far from her house. And I just crashed on the couch. I couldn't move. I didn't tell my mother what was wrong with me because she would have wanted to take me back to the ER. And I knew they would have wanted to keep me. And I was like, I'm not doing no more hospital visits.
Now, discuss something else right there because other people are going to be they're going to have the same train of thought. Why don't you want to go back to the hospital? And remember what you told me that if you go back in, they're going to keep you. And then what happens to your driver's license?
What happens is when you have epilepsy, seizures, anytime you have an episode and it gets documented, you have to go 6 months without driving. It is an honor
6
system.
months.
6 months you cannot drive, operate any type of machinery for 6 months. And it is an honor system. So if you choose to drive within those 6 months, they just document it. And let's say, God forbid, you go out there and you get in an accident. And that comes back that maybe you had a seizure behind the wheel or you blacked out or whatever. Then they revoke your license and your privileges are taken by the state.
So now
So
you understand why some of your family members don't tell you what's truly going on, because it's not that they don't want to go to the doctor, it's all of the other things that fall in behind it
yeah,
that could totally change your life. Because how are you going to go to the grocery store? How are you going to go get your hair
you're
done, your
completely
nails done?
dependent upon
Yes.
someone else for every aspect of your life. The most basic things. The
Your
most
whole
basic.
independence feels like it's being ripped from you.
It was.
Mhm.
It was. I remember a friend asked me to dinner, and my sister had to chaperone me. This was a male,
This is your baby sister too.
my baby sister. So she said, he invited me to this very fine restaurant. And it was my first time actually going to dinner with anyone since my illness. And he wanted to do something nice for me. And my sister said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you. And when we go, I'll sit at the bar and I'll wait for you. And when the date is over, then I'll take you back home. And she did that. She took time
That's
out
so
of her
sweet.
schedule and she went, she sat at the bar and ordered her some, or, whatever.
Mhm.
And, and that's how I did the date, because I couldn't drive. I didn't want to tell him. I was embarrassed.
Right,
I was embarrassed. Like, here I am, 40 and change, and I couldn't drive.
right.
I need a chaperone.
And so what about dating? So that was one date, but how is it? Do you feel like you want to date anymore? Do you feel like you
I
want to
have
really
my days.
share?
I
Mhm,
have I have my moments. I have my days. I would like companionship. I'm not interested in marriage, but
mhm,
definitely companionship, someone that I can just um, share good times with and
mhm.
do things with. Um,
They have to be so understanding
you have,
because
yeah, it takes a very special individual
right,
when you're dealing with
mhm,
what I'm dealing with. There
right.
are days when I feel great and I feel like I can conquer the world, which is what tricked me into believing that my doctors were wrong. I had such great days and I'm like, I'm fine. And then there were other days where the room is spinning and I can't walk. And there are moments where I'm fine. And then all of a sudden there's a click in my brain and someone's like, wait, we don't understand you.
Mm.
My
Almost as
ability
if
to,
you're having another stroke, but it's just
absolutely.
that your body, the brain has
Or
clicked
it's a
over.
seizure because in my instance, I don't have grand mal seizures. So
Mhm,
my seizures present in a way where my speech, my I'm not as coherent.
mhm,
So it's immediately evident to someone around me that
mhm,
she's not well. It
mhm,
happened once at the hairdresser. I'm in the chair and I'm talking to my hairdresser, my mother, who was there chaperoning me.
mhm,
And all of a sudden, I remember getting really, really hot
mm.
and sweat started pouring down. And I'm trying to talk and I can hear them and they're talking to me and I'm trying to respond back, but they can't understand what I'm saying. It's clear.
Your mouth is moving
My
and you
mouth is
think you're
moving, but they
responding.
cannot
Mhm,
make out what's coming out of my mouth.
mhm,
And that's seizures. And my doctor, those are just they're unexplained. The only thing they said is that it's from COVID.
mm.
There's nothing we can do for them.
Wow.
Never, ever, ever miss your medication.
Mhm.
It can be dangerous, extremely dangerous. And if you have a problem with getting your medication, you must call us right away because you must take it every day as we direct you,
Right.
um, so that your brain has a chemical balance and you don't have an episode. Yeah.
Wow. Nikki, you have been through such an intense and life-changing journey. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Now, I know that even though things changed drastically for you, you found new ways to navigate this life chapter. What are you focusing on now? What's next? And let me
Um,
ask you a second question to that. How are you redefining your purpose after everything you've been through?
Well, I've taken interest in working with the toddlers. For me, it is still therapy for me because it makes me depend on my memory, the things that I learned in primary school. The things that they are no longer teaching in public school now are the
Mm.
things that I am imparting into my little ones. So they're teaching sight words and things like that. I'm heavy on phonics and and mathematics and things like that. So when my babies choose to, when their parents finally put them in school, they will be at or above grade level. So that's what all day it's intensive therapy one-on-one with them, where they're learning to write their names, spell their names, know their colors, all the things that they're supposed to know, they know, and then some. So I take great pleasure in that. I must also say I couldn't do it without my mom
Mhm.
because like I said, I still need supervision. So she comes every morning, bless her heart, and she sits with me while I teach the children, and she's my babysitter while I babysit them and teach them.
And it's giving her peace of mind seeing that you're still being very productive.
Yes,
But what else are you rediscovering about Nikki? Because who Nikki was before this that person is no longer. You've had to rediscover yourself. So
absolutely.
what is this process that you've gone through that may help somebody else begin the process of actually rediscovering themselves?
Um, you have to take a good look in the person in the mirror. You have to love that person, and you must give that person grace. This has taught me humility. It humbled me in a way that I never imagined in a million years. I had to give myself grace. I had to dive deeper into my faith. I ain't gonna tell no lie. I straddled the fence a lot when I was
Mhm.
working. I did a lot of, you know, in and out, and I didn't, pray as much as I
Nikki,
should have.
Nikki,
And
Nikki, Nikki. Shh, shh. We
I'm
we
telling the
all
truth,
did, girl.
girl. Listen,
Ooh,
this
if them walls and them planes could talk,
baby,
but I wouldn't
baby.
change it for the world.
No, no, no. It was a blast. We had a blast. I have the memories to last me for a lifetime. The sisterhood, the
Yes,
brotherhood, the friendships,
yes,
even some of the enemies.
yeah.
The
But I'm gonna tell you, New Jersey, I left there with a whole bunch of memories that I was like, dang, I'm so glad I experienced that. It was like college, but on
on
steroids because we
steroids,
were making money.
living in the ironbound of Newark, New Jersey.
Listen, listen, you have no idea how much fun
Oh
we
my
had.
Lord.
Ooh, the
Woo,
shenanigans.
baby. We one day we'll write a book, but we
I
can't tell
don't
it right
know.
now.
I don't know if I'm gonna put
We
this
gonna
in a
take it to the
book.
grave.
If my mama's watching this, you ain't gonna ever know.
Never mind. My mother already know I'm a little out there, so she's like, whatever.
Well, and then, just having the opportunity to live in Chicago. And I don't know if you were like me. I was based in Chicago, Cleveland, and New Jersey. Cleveland was like a hot minute, and I was like, I couldn't deal with that. That was just a whole different ball of wax. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't do
Cleveland,
Cleveland.
period, is just different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
I,
And
I
but
love my Clevelanders. God bless
yes,
y'all, but
yeah,
it
but
ain't for me.
it was just a
Y'all
little
something like Indianapolis. The
yeah.
Indiana crowd is,
The base was just too small, and I was like,
baby.
I can't. The
It's
moment
a
I
no.
walked in there and they knew my first, middle, and last name, I said, "Oh no,
No,
ma'am."
ma'am.
I am just a number in Newark, and I do not need you to know me that closely.
Ooh, under the microscope.
Lord, my
No,
God,
no,
I
no,
couldn't
no,
do
no,
that. But
no.
it's really interesting how even as a retiree, period, how you have to rediscover yourself.
Mm,
I promise you, the first year I was cool. I was like, yes, I was getting the rest that I needed. You know, my retirement wasn't planned. It was just something that I always said that I wanted to retire before 60. I knew that. But how it was going to come about, I didn't know. And the other day I said I was 59, but I was actually 58 when I retired. And after I retired, oh, and there was one other thing that I said the only way that I was going to retire is that I needed to have a really large nest egg. And the
Yes.
company, I'm not going to give the amount, but the company did give us a really large nest egg, one that gave you the security that you needed to walk away. And so if you're a six-figure earner and they're gonna offer you 20,000, you like, well, excuse me, sir, I can make that in a month. So
It's
what
a
are you
no.
saying?
It's a
Why would you
no.
even why would you even
Insult me.
slap me in the face like that?
Y'all should have
So,
just spit on me.
nobody was walking away for that type of money, but when they gave us the offer that they gave us, it gave us the kahunas that we needed to go deuces.
Yeah.
So we're in year number 2. I had just moved back to Houston, and so I never even saw myself coming back to Houston. First of all, no. Anyway, but after the pandemic, and now I'm retired. Why am I staying in New Jersey? I have no family there, and I always saw myself settling down somewhere, probably internationally, and I
Yeah.
probably still will do
I'm
that.
still
And
there.
yes,
My mind is still there, and I'm still uh that's the next stage I'm working towards. I'd
me
like
too.
to have some home. I love the ocean. I
Me
love the
too.
water.
Me too.
So my ideal place would be somewhere near some beautiful natural
Yeah.
water, ocean front, and maybe helping toddlers or children learn English or
Hmm.
something where I can give back.
Right.
Because
Right.
I can tell you, if I know nothing else, I know the mercy and the grace that I was shown. How could I not?
Right.
How could I not? And all things considered, I want to be crystal clear when I say this. Even though I have the things that I'm still going through, I still have disabilities, and sometimes I lose my train of thought. And sometimes people will walk up to me that I went to school with, and I'm embarrassed because I don't remember them, and
Mhm.
they have to make me remember them. And I apologize all the time and say, please blame it on my head, not my heart. And I have to explain, I had 2 strokes, and this is what happened, and I'm so sorry I don't remember you. And I don't want you to think I'm acting funny, but I'm still grateful. I'm still grateful. And I realize that through it all, and forfeiting the six-figure income, God has still provided a way for me to pay my mortgage,
Yes.
to
Car
pay my
notes.
car, to take care of myself,
Hmm.
uh, to get my medications that I need to
Because
keep.
they're not cheap.
No, and mind you, I take about 13 medications a
Wow.
day.
A day.
A day. These are things that the Kepra. I've since turned to a plant-based diet. I no
Mhm.
longer eat meat at all, and
I'm
my
glad you brought that up because tell why you did that because of the A1C and trying to get.
it just at one point earlier this year and the end of last year, I was in and out of the hospital so much
Mhm.
with an infection here, with this. It was just stuff.
Mhm.
When I say stuff, it was stuff on top of stuff on top. I was over it. I was, I knew something had to change when my mom and sister were like, you got to go to the ER. This could be, and I'm fighting with them like, I don't want to go. I know they're going to keep me.
Mm.
I know that with my history and all these medicines, they have to, by law, keep me at least a minimum 24 to 48 hours to observe me and make sure I'm not having a seizure, to make sure I'm not having another stroke. Like, that's going to be what they're going to do. That's just my new norm now. And so I said, you know what? I can't continue like this. And it was easy for me. It was because when I began to eat, meat began to taste funny. And
Mm.
I don't know if it was because of the
I was
medications.
gonna say maybe it was the medications.
It,
Hmm.
it Fish began to taste funny. These things began to taste funny. I began for dinner. I chop up a cucumber,
Mhm.
put a little bit of vinegar and some Celtic sea salt, things like that, and eat that.
Mhm.
And it kind of started like that, and finding ways to, razzle dazzle up some zucchini or cauliflower rice, and it started there. And now I'm okay with it.
So
It's
has this diet changed? Have you seen changes within your body? Be-
absolutely,
Speak on that
absolutely
for a little bit because maybe this may help someone else also that is dealing with that.
mental clarity.
Mhm.
I don't have as many mental hiccups anymore.
Mhm.
Um, the bloating and the heaviness that I got when eating meats and things like that, I don't feel that anymore. My abdomen has since gone down. I'm not as gassy, if you will, or just upset stomach. I don't have those digestive issues anymore.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, it regulated my system, and I'm not having as many just hiccups, and I haven't had to go to the hospital for some time now.
But it still hasn't brought down the A1C, but it's done other things in the body.
Well, my last trip to the endocrinologist, he told me my cholesterol was perfect.
Oh, great.
My cholesterol was perfect. Um, and my A1C is stable, but I
Okay.
am taking medication for that.
But
So
and you don't I mean you I'm not telling anyone that going onto a plant-based diet is going to bring your A1C levels
mm-mm.
into alignment, but it's all of the other things that it
Yes.
does for the body that as you're learning this new way of life,
Mm-hmm.
you're lifting this load off of you of having to consistently go to the hospital for
Oh
different
yeah.
ailments.
I'm constantly researching holistic ways of healing through food
Mhm,
and through plants, the things that they used, our ancestors used years ago for
mhm,
healing.
mhm,
And I'm reverting back to that, going to these farmers markets, and getting things that are not GMO and
mhm.
sprayed with all types of chemicals. I'm just conscientious of that. Staying
Nikki,
away
let
from
me
the
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
but let me put a pin right there. If you are eating fruits and vegetables that do not have a seed in it,
Mm,
you are not eating fruits and vegetables.
that's right. It's
Period.
genetically
All those
modified.
seedless grapes, stop eating them.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Chemicals.
find seeded grapes. They're even making avocados now without a big, the avocado's supposed to have a seed. Life
Yeah.
is in the seed.
Yes. Yes.
So listen to what she's saying. I don't eat well, but when I do go get my fruits and vegetables, I don't want anything that does not
Have
have
a
a
seed.
seed. There's no
Yeah.
life in it. And the
Mm-mm.
body is a living organism that needs living organisms to go inside of
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to
Absolutely.
cut you off, but
No, you're fine. You're
I
fine,
didn't
because
want
that
to
is
pass by
true.
that.
People, a lot of people don't know. They
Mhm,
don't know
mhm.
that these fruit and these vegetables and things are supposed to have seeds and roots and things. Like, this is stuff that it grows from the earth, and
Right,
it should have those things. And if it's
right,
missing that, you should really question
right,
its origin
right,
and what it has gone through, the
right.
process. A lot of this stuff has chemicals and stuff on it, and you have no idea on what it's doing. There are more cancer cases and things now than we've seen in a very long time. And a lot of it's because we've been ingesting all of
Yeah,
these chemicals and harmful things for so long, and we're giving them to our children.
right.
So I'm happy to report that recently my son has decided to go plant-based all on his own. I never
Oh.
shoved it down his throat. He was watching me.
Mhm,
And he
he's
began to ask questions and
wow.
begin to add, and I would let him taste
Mhm,
things. You have a taste for chicken. Jackfruit is amazing. When
mhm.
you season that bad boy and marinate it right, and certain mushrooms and stuff, it'll take the texture of a chicken or
Okay, I'm still
whatever.
trying to get the Quebeca. I was almost speaking in
It's
tongues
a
there.
texture thing. If you can
It is.
get past the texture,
It is.
listen. And
Mhm.
the way I see it is, the way I rationalize, you're going to spend the money.
Right.
regardless. So you either going to spend it on medication and doctor's visits or buying healthy organic foods.
Right.
The money will be spent either way. You're not keeping it.
Right.
Because if you continue to eat foods that are not well for you,
You're
you're
going to be
going
in
to
that
continue to
hospital.
get sicker and
Right.
sicker. Hospital, they're going to push more pills on you
Mm-hmm.
and and those every pill has a side effect. It'll
Mm-hmm.
fix one thing, but it'll give you four more ailments. So my goal is to get off of the medications.
Yeah.
Um, since my initial illness, I'm down to 2,000 milligrams of Keppra,
Mm-hmm.
and at least two of my medications have been cut
Oh, that's
completely, where the
wonderful.
doctor said I don't need to take them anymore. So it's a slow process,
Mm-hmm.
and one that I'm proud of. It's not easy,
Right.
but every day I get up, it's a new day for me to prove to myself that I can do it.
Right.
And that's what I tell myself. I can do it.
Yes.
I pray on it and ask God to order my steps, and then I just go for what I know.
Right. And for our faith-based community, I need you
Mm,
all to fully understand this. Both of us are believers. And I will tell you, God can use the doctors to heal you,
mm,
or you can play dumb. And I'm not telling you not to pray, but God may be sending the boat, the healing, the answer through the doctors. Stop ignoring your doctor's advice. You take it, take the medication, and then go in prayer. You're not believing God, but not taking your medication is
yeah,
a concoction of a what's that called? Russian roulette.
yeah, yeah,
So she is a believer.
yeah.
I am a believer. This whole channel is a faith-based channel. But at the same time, she's using the tools that were given to her to help her not have seizures, keep her body regulated, her mind regulated, because that's why some of you all may be experiencing some of the things that you're experiencing because you're not taking your medication regularly and you're not going to see your doctors.
You have to. And a lot of times I know you will not go see your doctor because you don't want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
I went through that as well. When I already knew what they were going to say. I didn't want to hear it. I don't need y'all telling me it's something I don't want to hear. And I knew what they were going to say.
Right.
And sometimes we can become complacent and be like, I don't feel like hearing this today.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, you've missed 4, 5, 6 appointments. Now you're labeled as a non-compliant patient because you're refusing to
Wow.
keep your appointments. Now you receive letters where the doctor's dismissing you as a patient, and you got to find a new doctor
And go through the whole rigmarole all over again.
all over again because now you need your medicine. You real sick, and you end
Yeah.
up in the hospital. And now you definitely got to find a doctor who's going to be able to prescribe that for you.
Right.
It's a vicious cycle. So
Right.
what you do is you do that, but in the meantime, you focus on how to get better.
Right.
That takes in my instance where I have vision issues, anything that I could find on YouTube or audiobooks that I could listen to, I listened.
Mm-hmm.
I listened. I researched. I listened to different people, you know, brain injuries
Mm.
and just try to what are the foods that heal brain injuries. I learned that beets were great for brain injuries. My mother tried to give it to me and I told her it tastes like dirt. Mom, this is dirt water. Why? I thought that she was really raising up against me. I'm like, what is the problem? You got insurance on me. You're trying to cash in because I hated it. But now I know that beets are very good for the brain. And now I'm all right with
A
beets.
beat, a little dirt water ain't so
A
bad now.
little dirt. Well, we ate mud back in the day. If you in the 70s, you did the mud pies.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm her. I'm a 70s baby. So
Nikki,
I
there's
just
one
have to
other
say,
thing that I wanted you to reveal to people. I remember you were telling me that uh, I believe you had gone to a restaurant and you had parked in the handicap zone. Tell them
oh,
about that. Oh, Lord, listen to this. Because you don't look like what you're going through.
a lot of people tell me that. So I went to a restaurant. I do have a handicap decal, and I parked, and there were two older gentlemen who parked next to me, and I parked in a handicap spot, and I put my placard up and everything. And the comments that came from these two gentlemen. I wish a police was present right now to take her to jail. And I can't believe she took that spot. It ain't nothing wrong with her. She don't look handicapped. And they went on and on and on. And this was like a cafeteria style restaurant. So they were behind me online with choosing the items of, the food. And I had to hear this the entire time, throughout the entire line. And I had to get help with them carrying my tray, and they seated me and everything. And I sat there in deep thought the whole time. I was by myself, and I thought about it. And they went and they sat at their table, and something just said, go tell them your story. I at that moment, I figured I could either be mean and bitter about it and leave saying what I shoulda, woulda, coulda did, or I could use it as a teachable moment.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people walking around here because you look a certain way. They don't think that you're not going through what you say you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look that way, you ain't nothing wrong with you, you this and you that. People say that. They see
And here
me, my
you
hair
are, a
done.
vibrant young woman, dressed probably, you was probably looking real
I
snatched.
was. I had just come from the nail shop, doing my self-care because I believe in self-care, baby. Listen, that helps. That helps. If you don't look good, that
Mm.
half the time it's because when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see because your hair raggedy, your hands are raggedy. Take care of yourself. And if you can't afford to go and get those services, learn how to do them yourself and just take care of yourself.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. Figure it
Yes.
out. Um, but I decided to go over. I have footage in my cell phone that my sister recorded
Mm.
when I first got sick.
Mm.
And one of the recordings was me in rehab learning to walk again with my
Mm.
physical therapist. And so they had the gait belt around me and he was holding me and I was on a parallel bar holding on, taking steps.
Wow.
And my speech was severely slurred because I still was learning how to speak again.
Nikki, right here. I don't know if you remember because I talked to you when you were in the hospital, and I remembered hearing your speech and it didn't sound right. But as your friend, I didn't want to tell you,
Yeah.
girl, what's going on?
I didn't realize it was that bad until I talked to, because when the word got out that I was sick, I received calls from, friends and ex-boyfriends and people just generally that were from my village who I've known over the years to check in. And it hit me when I spoke to two ex-boyfriends and they cried on the phone.
Mm.
These are grown men. And they were like, my God. And they cried and they said, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. Why are you crying? I didn't realize, you know, how I came across to them, but
Mhm.
it moved them to tears
Mhm.
because they knew the type of person I was and how aggressive I was with, being a go-getter and making money and doing my thing, and to be deduced, so to speak, to this person who could barely walk and was inaudible for the most part, trying to get my thoughts collected and losing my train of thought when speaking. So it was a very humbling experience.
And so now you're telling these two, you've walked over to
Yeah,
these two
so
older
I
men.
went through my phone and I found the video footage. And I went over and I introduced myself. Good afternoon, and my name is Nikki, and da 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 da. So I couldn't help but hear some of the comments that you made about me parking in the handicap spot. And I thought about it while eating, and I wanted to come and share with you my story. I want to use this as a teachable moment for you to understand that a disability does not have a certain look.
Right.
And you cannot look at someone and assume that they are or are not because of the way they look. It takes a lot of effort when I get up to get up and look the way I look because of the differences and the things I have to do, the challenges I have to go through to make myself look presentable. And so I pulled up the video footage and I said, this is me, last year. I said, I'm a COVID survivor and a two-time stroke survivor.
Mm.
I said, I have partial blindness on the left side. And I went over and I gave them a whole laundry list, things I didn't have to share. But
Right.
at that moment, the spirit moved me where I felt that it was necessary. I
Mhm.
need you all to understand that a disability it doesn't have a certain look. It
It's
doesn't
not an
have a certain
age.
sound or an
Right.
age. I'm very young. I was in my 40s. I just turned 50 August 9th of this year. So here I am, a 40-something-year-old woman, what most people would say in my prime,
Mhm.
using a handicap sticker, and I still use a shower chair,
Mhm.
because I'm afraid of falling in the shower. I still use a lot of things and aids that I hated. I
Mm.
still have canes and crutches and things that I'll use when I get those moments where I'm not quite as stable as I should be on my feet. Those are my new norms,
You're right.
and I've had to embrace them. And
Right.
when I get the time, I'm gonna bling out my cane, because if I got to pull it out, y'all know I'm the bling queen, baby. That's how I started out with my rehab. I started out blinging
I
cats.
remember that. I remember that.
And I was like, if I got to do a cane or a walker, it's gonna have to have a lot of Swarovski crystals. Because what we can't do is have old rusty raggedy walker or cane. I'm too fabulous for that.
Nikki, I want to thank you so much for
Thank you for
sharing your
having me.
story. I know that so many people are going to be blessed by hearing your trials, your strengths, and how you've continued to move forward, even when life threw you an unexpected curveball.
And
Your
continues to throw curveballs,
listen, that ball
baby.
is like a boomerang and it come back around and say,
It's the
hey.
gift that keeps on giving. Oh, yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
every day is different for me. Some days I wake up and I feel like I can conquer the world, and other days it's a struggle.
Right,
It is a struggle. So
right,
what you understand, what I don't want to send the message that all is well. It is not. I
right,
still struggle.
right,
That disability check is well deserved. 'Cause
right.
I
Listen.
got issues. I really do.
Hmm.
And every time I think I can go out and do something, there's something that clicks and reminds me that I have to say, apologize to my doctors and say they were right.
Mm,
Hindsight being 2020, had I persuaded them to sign those papers
mm,
and gone back to flying, I know for a fact that I would have been fired,
yeah,
because the amount of mornings I woke up and didn't know where I was, it was so dizzy I couldn't figure out left from right,
right.
could barely walk. There's no way I could have
Mm,
I could have maneuvered in the aviation industry. And it's a fast-paced industry.
right.
It's fast-paced. You go to bed late, you're waking up early. Yeah, I have
Uh,
to get my fix.
Everything's out of whack in different time
Everything.
zones. You can be in
Oh,
different time, three different time zones in one day.
in one day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that my doctors had the insight and they stood 10 toes down. And baby, I
I
was
mean,
coming with guns blazing.
10 times however many doctors you
Ooh,
had. They were like, oh, you gonna come around to all five of us,
listen,
and all five of us are gonna still give you a
baby,
resounding
they formed a
no.
whole alliance on me because I got slick. I was going to one and they were boomeranging me back to one. I don't feel those types of form outs. You got to go see your primary. So that's how they got me, because I was going
Oh,
to them, taking the forms to them. I can just get a doctor. It didn't
just
say it had to
one.
be a specific one. I got six of y'all on the team. One of
You
y'all.
know who you forgot? We're not gonna call out his name, but it begins with a C in New Jersey, where we used to go. Doctor, you know what I'm talking about? He would sign any forms that anybody needed. You knew.
Oh, girl,
Ah, oh, did
listen.
you say his name?
But I never went to him.
Oh, you
Because
didn't.
I never went to him because my primary doctor I have now was also my dad's caretaker.
Ah, that's right. That's right. Oh, you know what?
So,
For some reason I thought whenever you got your FMLA, you got
mm,
it through him.
no, I got it
Okay.
through the same doctor who refused. And he said, Nikki, I filled out many forms for you. And
Uh-huh.
if I knew for a fact that you could do it, I would sign it in a heartbeat. But on this one, I'm going to have to stick to my guns and say, no, you got to find something else to do.
Well, the rest of you all who are flight attendants who know, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I didn't have to go to him. I went to my
Uh-huh.
real doctor, and he was able to fill out all of my forms.
He was the
But
only doctor I knew that you would come in, and I promise you he had to work for the mafia. I know that man worked for the mafia. He would always be like, I feel like you need your neck to be cracked. I'm like, my neck don't need to be cracked. And before you could even say no, click, I was like, what the? What's going on up in
But
here?
did it work though?
Girl, yeah, it worked. But
You like, you're right.
yeah, I was
You
like,
sound
but
like a prophet.
look at here. I know you got some shice master stuff going on up in here. I know you a mafia doctor.
Cracking
Don't you be
necks and
touching me.
laying hands.
Yeah, just give me my what I want. Don't you be touching me anywhere. Hi, okay. Nikki, I am
Yeah.
so glad that you found the courage to come on. And you immediately, when I asked you, you're like, yes. So I'm so glad that you are my first interviewee. And I have so many other people that I really want to invite and ask them to tell the world what they're doing since retirement. And again, I know that yours was not a retirement, but however, it was a forced removal,
Yeah.
forced, well, you did retire from work, but just not
Yeah.
the way you thought you were going to be
Mm-mm.
retiring. You were terminated. So you're not the only one who has experienced this. There are many out there that will listen to this in the days and years and months to come, that will be able to gain insight as to what's going on in their life. Your
You know,
story. Mhm, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to cut you off. I
Mm,
just wanted to bring this one quick thing up because I get this question all the time when I do share my story with people. They want to know if I was vaccinated.
mm,
And I am currently vaccinated, but at the time this happened, they were not giving the vaccine they were only giving it to certain people
mhm.
back then.
But you
But
had already had the COVID, so you didn't think you needed it.
well, the thing is after this incident happened, um, when I spoke to my doctor about becoming vaccinated, he said to me, I have the antibodies of a vaccinated individual. He says, you have live antibodies. They kept doing draws on me every so many months. And he says, you have the antibodies of a person that has been vaccinated. My antibody levels were so high, it was not necessary at that time. So it was almost a year later.
Wow.
I do have vaccination,
Mhm,
but it was a year after. And I will tell people who were naysaying on the vaccine that COVID itself makes you sick.
mhm.
And what people have to understand is the vaccine, it is not to stop you or prevent you from getting COVID. The vaccine is to hopefully allow you to survive
Yeah,
the virus. This
right.
is what people don't, I've heard a lot of people say, I got that, I still got sick. Yes, you're introducing a dead virus into
Mhm,
your body through the vaccine. And
right,
it's with hopes that your body builds up an immunity to fight it off if you should come into any other strain or that strain in particular.
right,
It's hopefully so that you will not succumb to the virus. It is to hopefully keep you alive. It is not
right,
to keep you from actually getting the virus. So I want to be clear with that.
right,
Um, a lot of the people who said they got the jab and they got sick, yeah, I got sick from the actual virus. So the jab or the virus, it has nasty side effects.
right.
Everything
Same thing
I,
as with any flu shot that
yeah,
we've taken.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I said, if you grew up in the US, you had to have that pink and blue slip to go to public school back in the day. You had
Did.
to be
Yes, you did.
vaccinated. And I'm from the era of chicken pox.
Mhm.
They don't have chicken pox. These babies don't know what chicken pox is because it was eradicated through vaccines.
Right,
You understand? So,
right.
I'm not preaching. You do what you do. But
Mhm.
I just want, that question comes up a lot when
Right,
people understand, they hear my story, and it is, yes, I am vaccinated now.
right.
When it first happened, I was not a candidate for it, and all of my doctors strongly urged me not to
Mhm.
because I want to say that I possibly had two strands. They're not sure,
Mm, mhm.
but because of how I tested positive, tested negative, positive again, it was back and
Mhm.
forth. Every
Mhm.
time they would swab me was a positive, negative, negative, positive. So my doctor seemed to think that I could have had maybe more than one strand.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably what caused me to have such drastic side effects.
All right.
But they still don't know.
Right. And I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there again. Neither Nikki nor myself or anyone on the You Thrive, Retire and Thrive show are doctors, and we are not telling you what to do.
Mm-mm. Do your
Did
thing.
you
I'm just
hear
telling you
me?
what I did and what
We are
worked for
not
me.
telling you what to do.
Yeah,
So, this is our experience,
right.
our story. Because I got
Yeah.
the jab too, and I got the jab because working in now I hadn't had the flu shot in years. I'd stopped taking the flu shot because I would dose myself up. I was probably running on about 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, vitamin D I would take. And there was something else I used to take to keep my body um, uh, immune to what was going on, because what you all don't get,
Elderberry.
yeah, what you all don't get is we're exposed to a myriad of diseases, people coming from any and everywhere, touching those overheads, touching the seats. The planes are nasty.
They are. Y'all
And
put your
so
shoes on. Stop
I,
walking in them planes barefoot. Put your shoes on. That
and
if you go in
ooh,
that laboratory that's wet, that is not water.
it's not
I
water.
tell people that.
It's not
Like,
water. It is
water.
not water. And those
Put your shoes
floors
on
are
and stop sending them
filthy.
babies
Yes, those
back there with no
floors are
shoes on.
filthy. Put your shoes on, put a blanket down. Listen, if you don't see the flight attendants doing it, something should click in your mind.
And say
This
this is
is
not a
not
good
good.
idea. And for all
Yeah.
y'all people who want to be in the Mile High Club, those bathrooms are not clean. Cut it out. Get
Mm-mm.
a room.
Nasty. Nasty. You're just nasty.
Nasty, filthy. And no, you don't want a blanket because they not clean either.
Right. But here's the deal. You would think that as flight attendants, because we are exposed to so much, that the virus wouldn't really have the ability to really attach in our bodies, because our immune system is really built up and we didn't realize it.
Yeah,
But what I've heard a lot about this particular disease that's out there, or flu virus that's out there, it goes in and it's almost as if it's searching throughout the body looking for the weakest organ.
that's right. And that's why it attacks so much to the respiratory, the pulmonary system, the lungs, and people, it's hard to breathe.
Yes.
It's a very fragile system when you start dealing with the lungs and it's a beast.
Yes. So my retirees, I know you're enjoying sitting on that sofa. I
Mm-hmm.
know it, but I need you to get up and do some
Mm-hmm.
exercising. I remember Nikki was saying that when she couldn't go out and walk when it was raining, she used to do the exercise
At home.
from
Yeah,
the
you
YouTube.
too.
And I did that too. There
Low
are
impact
there are
walking.
tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
If one didn't suit your fancy, find another one.
Yeah.
But you need to get your respiratory system, you need to
Going.
take deep breaths. And
Mm-hmm.
some of you, when you start doing that, you're going to cough because
Yeah.
your respiratory system go, what you doing? You know,
And drink your water.
drink water. I
Drink
have
your
a water.
water.
Now, this is not one. Well, I don't want to show the name of it, but my water bottles, I get the ones that are at least 50 ounces and I
Mhm.
finish that.
Yeah.
And you may be saying, but I'm going to be in the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Okay.
I would rather run to the bathroom every five
Be in the
minutes
hospital.
than be in the hospital.
Yeah.
You've got to get that water in you.
Yeah.
I have a vibrating pad. I'll go over there, and while I'm watching television, I'll turn that thing
And
on and
on it.
I'm
Yep.
vibrating.
Get everything, get them juices flowing. Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
lymphatic. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell you, if you're sitting around a lot, you need to get that blood moving. It will feel like ants are moving in your legs, but you need
Mm-hmm.
that. And
You
why?
need it.
Because that is your blood moving.
Moving. Yep. And it's not getting
Again, I'm
sluggish
not a
and thick.
doctor, consult your doctor, but I'm telling you what I do.
Right.
I also have a under the desk treadmill. I just get on it and I walk. I have an under the desk elliptical. I get on it and I move my
Pedal. Yeah.
legs. I also have one of those weighted hula hoops. The thing hits me a lot of times because
Baby, it looks like TikTok shop is your friend.
well, a lot of that was before TikTok shop.
Oh, really?
Yes, TikTok, they just getting hip to what I was already doing. So
Man.
I'm telling you, if you don't want to go outside, you don't have to,
No.
but you do need to move. You need
Yeah.
to move that body, because whenever an illness comes, it's going to attack you even more so
Yeah.
because your body is not in movement.
That's right. Not in condition.
Now, this was a vibrant young woman who didn't have any of that story. And
Mm-mm.
look at what she went through.
Yeah.
If your body has no immunity to fight off anything, listen, get up and move. So
Yeah.
you talk to your doctor and see what you can incorporate into your life. But I would say to you, it's time to get up and move.
And even if you can't get up, And some
Mhm.
of you may be stuck in a chair or in a bed. YouTube is your friend. They have
Yes.
things where you can start at any level. If you
Yep.
can't even get up because your knees are bad, your ankles are bad, your toes are swollen, you got gout, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they have program where you can sit there and you can do stuff sitting at the dining room table
Yes.
that will get you started. You have to
Right.
start somewhere. Just start. And
Just
if you
start.
can't do another for 3 minutes, then challenge yourself the next time you do it. I'm gonna do it for 3.5. And
Yep.
you just keep challenging yourself
Right.
and pushing yourself. And great, it will come.
Yes.
But you have to start. You
Yes.
have to.
Yes.
That's
Well,
it.
Nikki, we've been on for almost 2 hours.
Has it been that long? Oh my
Because I was
gosh.
like, oh,
That's like us going to the mall in Jersey. We're only
I
going in here for
know.
work shoes.
Oh, that was Chicago, wasn't it?
Oh,
Whatever, we were
ma'am.
living in Chicago,
That was
and I
PJ.
came to pick you up, and y'all, we went shopping, and we shopped so much. I said, Nikki, let's take your stuff on over to the FedEx and have it shipped back to
Oh,
you.
yes, that time. That was in Chicago. Yes.
Oh, New Jersey, you're
New
right. New
Jersey.
Jersey is when we went shopping for shoes and ended up buying Rolex watches.
Listen. Oh my God.
We went
Listen. And
shopping
we
for
still
work
didn't get
shoes.
shoes. We had to go to a different mall. And we were like, whoa, we hungry. We done went in here and bought watches. And then I was like, Chauntelle, we still don't have shoes for work. We got to go to another mall. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all. And we always encourage you. You should get that. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that'll look good in your living room.
and just ship it home.
Ship it home. Christmas, Cecil got everything on his list because I
Oh
was
my
buying and
God.
shipping, buying and shipping.
Oh my God. Well, Nikki, I'm so glad. Your story is such a great reminder to us that no matter what we're facing in retirement,
Mm,
your life goes on. And
it
there's
does.
still a future full of possibility.
Make the most of it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying you won't cry,
Right,
but cry, get it out, and then begin to think, what is it that I can do?
right,
Whatever it is that you can do, whatever it is that you're good at, there is a way where you can probably use that as a tool for you to start your new beginning. I never
right.
thought in a million years that working with toddlers, toddlers, which is like herding cats, but it is so rewarding
Right.
to have a baby come to me that cannot speak and he begins to speak. To have a baby comes to me and by the time he leaves me, they identify letters and they know their sounds and they're able to put those sounds together to make words and they're able to read words and they're able to add and they're subtracting and now they're learning multiplication all before kindergarten.
Right. That's beautiful.
That's my craft.
Right.
So
And you would
that's
not have gotten there
mm,
had you not gone through the 3 years that came before this.
yeah,
So some of
absolutely.
you all, this is your life.
Yeah.
This is your life.
But
And
guess what? You have a life. And
right,
that is what you have to stay focused on. For whatever reason, your work here is not done. So
right.
let's get to living and
Yes,
let's get to figuring out what it is that your assignment is on earth and do the best of your ability. Get it done.
yes,
No
yes,
more woe is me, y'all. It's
yeah.
cry your last cry. You went all those years in college and got all the certifications and now you feel like it's a waste. It is not a waste.
Put it to
You're
work.
looking at it the wrong way.
Right.
You're
Listen, if
looking at it wrong.
if you need to go and look at the video I did on hobbies, and I talk about that. Some of you all can become tutors for people wanting to learn English
Hmm.
right from your home. So
Yeah,
go look at that video. It's going to help you. There is something that you
there's
can do.
something.
Yeah.
Tap into it.
So put the
Some of you
put
are
the
good at it.
violin
Yeah,
down, dry your eyes,
yeah,
and get some strength to go
yeah,
ahead and go on with life. All right. Because it's
absolutely.
not over. Actually, it's
Mm-mm.
just beginning.
It
So for
is.
those of you who are watching, I hope this episode inspires you to embrace your new life. Whether
Yes.
you retire by choice or by circumstances beyond your control. Remember, no matter what you're facing, you can still thrive and enjoy the ride. Now, you gonna go on the ride, but you might as
Oh,
well enjoy it. All
And
right.
put on your seatbelt, because baby, it's not always smooth. There are some bumps. You could be blind as a bat like me, navigating these streets like Ray Charles, just trying to figure it out.
Just trying to figure it out to your own
Baby,
drum beat.
picking up the wrong stuff in the grocery store because you can't see the label.
Oh Lord.
The stories I have, baby,
Oh,
it was bad. It still
oh
is
my
bad.
God. Oh
Mm.
my God. And Nikki, even for those who may not even have a disability, listen, I think I told y'all I even went through a period where I was like, did I make the right decision? What on earth? Y'all, I went and got a job. I think I lasted 6 months. I was like, ain't
That's
doing this,
hilarious.
hot dog it.
No, ma'am. This is not of the kingdom. No, ma'am.
And listen, for some, it's wonderful. And if I change my mind tomorrow afternoon and decide I want to go get a job, guess what? I'm
I'll
gonna do
go get one.
it. And 6 months later, when I come to myself, I'm gonna leave it. But here's the thing: just do it. If it feels
Yeah,
good and it's legal, just go ahead and do
just
it.
do it. Yeah, just do it. At least you won't have any regrets. Do it.
No,
If it
none,
doesn't work out, it's
none.
okay. Do
Right,
something else. Something will eventually click, and something you will enjoy, and something will catch, and something will be for you. But you
right.
will never know if you do not try.
You'll never know if you
Do
don't
it.
try. That's so true. That's so
Do it.
true. Well, thank you
And
so much, Nikki, for
you're
being with
welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Yeah, I knew you needed to share it. I
Yeah.
know that this is going to go out and it's really going to help thousands and thousands of people. And I can't wait to see what else God is going to do with your life as you continue to sow into others. So I just
Listen.
thank you.
Yeah, look for me because I've actually been invited to a couple of speaking engagements,
Oh,
which
wow.
is interesting. And it's just from me when I get my hair washed every Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And there are ladies in there. We always talk about relationships and things like that. And
Mhm.
they found my point of views so interesting that
Yeah,
I've
because
had.
Nikki doesn't have the conventional point of view,
I
especially
don't.
for a young woman. She doesn't have the point of view that you think she might have.
Right. And so when I speak to these ladies and I always offer thought-provoking questions to allow them to think it through. And I ask questions that make them think. And so from that, I've received an invitation to join a podcast as well as public speaking
Oh, that's
to
wonderful,
women.
Nikki.
So look out for that. I'll be letting you know more about that as details come up from the people who are putting it together
Okay.
on
Okay.
that. But I'm always just trying to inspire and encourage, and I'm here to uplift everybody, male, female, no matter where you're from, what walk of life you're from, because everybody has a story to
Yeah.
tell.
Right.
I have mine and you certainly have yours. And whatever you do not allow someone else to tell you what you cannot do.
Exactly.
Figure it
Exactly.
out. My doctors told me I couldn't go back to flying
Hmm.
and I was disabled. I didn't want to believe them. I still sometimes don't believe them, but then reality quickly sets in and I was like, I was just playing.
I
This
was
room starts spinning. Wait a minute. I was just playing.
I didn't want to go back no way.
I ain't want to go back no way and give
I
out
was
them cookies.
I was tired of it. I was, being in different cities all every day. I was
Who
tired.
wants to do that? Who wants to go and be at the Fairmont and order a $48 hamburger in Canada?
Listen. Well, thank you everybody for being with us today. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time on the Retire and Thrive show. And hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the button.
Smash the button. Smash the button.
So you'll be notified when we upload a new video. My goodness, this has been a wonderful, wonderful time. I just felt like we were on the phone talking like we normally do.
Like we normally do, right? Now
Just
let's
now,
go to Papa Do's.
hey, yeah. Listen, I don't have people around like my friends here. They don't do like we used to do. I'd be
Oh,
like, let's go. I got it. I'm like, oh my
no,
God,
ma'am. I'm
y'all are
always
so
up for a good
boring.
meal. What?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's kind of hard to find friends like that.
Well, go on and fly me up to Houston. I'll.
I know. Oh, that's right, Nikki. You don't. my goodness. I didn't even think about
I
that part.
lost it all.
When you say you lost it all, I was just thinking about the pension and all that. I forgot about the flying benefits.
I lost it all.
And since I did that weird retirement, I don't even really know how to do. Nikki, I have reverted to a dumb person because I'm like, oh, I don't even know
How
how
do
to do
I
all
miss
this
again?
stuff.
What are the rules again?
Well, because we're retired, but we're in this weird retirement stage where next year I actually go into full retirement and they're going to give me a new badge. And then I don't even know, Nikki. I just rather go out there and buy my ticket, be like, just leave me alone.
But you know what? That's the thing I am, because with my condition, stressful situations agitate what I have going on,
Mm,
and going standby and things like that, it can really put me in a bad space
hmm.
if I'm traveling.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I will have to buy my tickets because I need a confirmed seat. That's one
Listen,
less thing I'll have to worry about.
right.
And depending on if I'm going by myself, I'll probably need assistance.
Hmm.
Some of these airports are monstrous. Denver,
Yeah.
Atlanta,
Yeah, they're huge now. Yeah.
they're huge.
And you know what, Nikki, to be honest with you, like I did take some trips. And when I went to Tel Aviv, I bought my ticket.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just don't
It's too
even.
stressful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could go free, but then you're not sure you're gonna get on, and then you're not sure what seat you're gonna
Mm-mm.
get.
We're not doing that.
And I was like, I don't have time for all
Mm-mm-mm.
that. So I buy my ticket. But I
Yeah,
seriously, I really don't remember how to even go on and do all that stuff. And I have no desire to
yeah.
figure
It's
it
okay.
out.
Yeah, it's okay.
I am enjoying I mean, when I left everything. You can
But we
still
were high time flyers, so the flying that we did, listen, I'm all right with doing my 1 or 2 trip because we flew enough for 2 lifetimes.
let me tell you, you really didn't realize how tired you were even before you got sick. And the fact that we were home and we could rest,
But I didn't
baby.
rest at home because the moment I stepped off the plane here, the cape went on and I'm super mom. So
Yeah,
to compensate for all the times of me not being here, now we doing Chuck E. Cheese, we doing Disney World, we doing Busch Gardens, we doing friends' birthday parties and sleepovers
right,
and cookouts, and I'm trying to make up for all the time that I missed and catching school plays and parent teacher conferences. It goes on and on and on.
right,
I didn't rest even home.
right,
I'm laundry, I'm cooking, I'm food prepping, helping with homework, helping with science projects, meeting with teachers, meeting with tutors because my son
yeah,
had special learning needs.
right,
That's a whole nother thing.
yeah,
I never rested, even when I was here.
mm,
It was on go. It's a
yeah,
different,
yeah. Well,
but here I am
now,
getting
now
all the
you got your
rest.
own time. Well, them children still come over at 6 in the
Yeah,
morning,
they do. Because,
but
yeah, they come and baby, they 6 o'clock in the morning, they crunk. They want
you're
to do
like,
Gracie's
wait a
Corner.
minute, this eye is still
Ooh,
closed.
they are up. And I had some oatmeal, oatmeal, oatmeal. I'm like, sir, it's not even breakfast time. Who eats at 6? Who's eating at 6 a.m.? They gonna think that lunch is at 10. No, sir. We're
We're
not
not
doing
on that.
that. Your
We're
mama
not
ain't
on
coming
that
back
type of
till 4.
schedule.
You gotta stretch this thing on out. Chop up an apple, let you eat some of this apple before a banana before you have breakfast.
Yeah.
Graham cracker and half a banana. How about that? Snack.
Oh my God, that is so hilarious. All right, Nikki.
Oh,
Well, I have enjoyed this interview. Thank you so
the
much again.
same
I
here,
know I've
baby.
said that 3 or 4 times, but
Yeah. It's always a good time when we get together.
it
And I
sure
look
is.
forward to greatness and hearing great
Yes.
from you. And I just appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank
And
you.
to anyone out there, keep your head up.
Yeah,
I promise you it gets greater later.
it
I
sure does.
promise it
It
gets
sure does.
greater later. Don't give up on yourself. If no one else is cheering for you, sometimes you got to encourage yourself.
Help.
You have to.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
stay encouraged, be prayerful. I'm going to be praying. I pray for people all the time, people I don't know and people I know, because I understand it's hard.
Yeah.
The economy is tough right now. It's hard to live. They charging to breathe around here some places.
Listen.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Homelessness is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
People can't afford food. Healthy food is even more expensive, which is crazy.
It's the craziest thing.
It's cheaper to go buy a loaf of bread and a bag of chips than it is to go buy some fruit and vegetables, which is insane. But that's the society and the world that we live in now.
Let me
So
tell you.
I'll keep everybody in prayer, and you guys, please, pray for me that
Yeah.
that I can continue to make a difference and be able to speak life into people, because I believe that's my calling. I think that's
Right.
as I'm evolving,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is my calling to pour into people to find their purpose.
Right.
I'm still finding mine, but my purpose is to ensure that you find your purpose.
Yes. And that's
And
what
it,
I said. I
yeah.
believe I said that maybe 2 shows ago. You
Mhm.
have to understand that your purpose evolves and
Yes.
you have to be willing to pivot. If
Yes.
you're rigid, you're going to have a very
Very hard time, because guess
hard
what? The
time.
purpose doesn't leave. When the creator puts it on you, the purpose. So, baby, you can fight, kick, scream, curse, whatever you want to do, but that purpose gonna be right there hoovering until you get
Hoovering.
tired.
And it's
The
like,
Lord
oh,
got
I'm not
time. He
going
got
nowhere.
time.
Look, I ain't going nowhere.
I wait.
You can struggle, kick and scream,
You
or
can
you
be
can
that
go ahead and
2-year-old
do it
toddler,
willingly.
and he'll be like, "I'll wait, not for long, but I'll wait." And that purpose still gonna be right there, sis and bruh. It's gonna be right there. I
Yeah.
promise. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So Nikki is going to keep us abreast to when she's
Yes,
going to be doing her first interview on a podcast.
I
Or I mean,
know.
that's so fabulous. That's so fabulous, Nikki. I'm so happy.
Thank
So don't
you.
forget to let me know when that is so that I can make sure that I support you. Well, guys,
Absolutely.
we would just sit here and keep chit-chatting for another whole hour. But listen, I have not eaten and I'm getting ready to go eat.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
I'm gonna go eat something. Yes.
Nourishment.
And matter of fact, I was headed down to the farmer's market here
Ooh,
because I want
some
some
fresh
watermelon.
okra.
What time is it? I want some watermelon. Oh, I have to go tomorrow because they close at 7. I live way out in Katy, and
Oh,
it's
hello.
hello, it's so far away from everything.
Hello, Katie.
It take you 30 minutes to get anywhere in the city of Houston. You know, I didn't even realize how big, although I'm from Texas, straight smooth from Texas, it just still baffles my mind that there are
So
over
large.
6
Yeah,
million individuals out there on them streets.
baby.
And
Houston is nothing nice.
no,
And in the summer, my God.
no.
Mm,
I find myself trying to run back to the seclusion of my home
mm.
because it's real people-y out there.
Yeah, the
It's
people be
real
peopling.
people-y. Mhm. And then people be peeping.
The people
Eileen.
be peopling.
Thank you so
All
much
right.
for joining us on Retire and Thrive. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, you are not supposed to retire and survive. You're supposed to retire and
And
thrive.
thrive. Absolutely.
Thrive in this life. You've got
Yes.
a whole new opportunity and you got more
Make the
time
most
to
of
do
it.
it. And you can
Yes.
set the alarm clock for whatever time you want to set it for, but just thrive. All
Yes.
right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.